everyone, I'm Ning. Welcome to our radio show Living Language. Living Language is a radio series of learning foreign language experience in the radio The Voice of Vietnam every Saturday at 9 p.m. The aim of this program is to share tips and experience in learning foreign language with listeners to help them master the language they want to learn. Our topic today is common problem in learning a foreign language and how to overcome. As you know, during this era of globalization, the demand for international communication has been higher than ever before. This happens on a variety of fields. Thus, people all around the world are now focusing on the group of certain language in order for the welcome of the outside world and to satisfy the demand of both. However, acquiring a new language has never been an easy task. Taking English as an example, it indicates in research that only 2% out of 1 billion of non-English speakers who know English are able to apply this language for their profession. It's clear that many encounter extreme difficulties, and few can speak fluently when pick up new language. Today, we seek to learn the most popular difficulties of learning a foreign language. We focus on nailing the problem with the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and find solutions for each skill. Let's our reporter find out the problem by conducting several interviews with people from different countries. And now, listen to their report, and you can get your own answer.
Hi everybody, I'm Kian, reporter of the radio of the Voice of Vietnam. First and foremost, we analyze the difficulties of mastering the listening skill and where these issues come from: the message, the speaker, the listener, and other environmental factors. The message we receive while listening to something is variable and diverse. They may come from many different sources, sometimes slang, idiom, sometimes just the circumstance unfamiliar to the listeners. In many cases, the listener may fail to decrypt what is said, even that is clearly spoken by the broadcaster on the TV news show, or it is just a daily life conversation. The message in the radio would be too hard for the unsuccessful listeners to catch. We cannot ask the speakers repeat what was spoken as many times as we want. The next difficulties come from the speakers. The way the native speakers pronounce is far different from the way we are taught at school. In the conversation it does about the daily life, the speakers may use many slangs or idioms whose meanings the learner have no idea of. In the natural conversation, the speakers may use sentences with incorrect grammar yet allowed in speaking, but accidentally we may make it difficult for the non-native listeners. The next factor was make listening skill a nightmare for the language learners and the learners themselves. Most language learning starters find it unfamiliar to the phrase, the daily conversation, to guess what is spoken. Another reason is that the learners lack the knowledge about society in the country of the target language countries. As an old saying, language is culture. Many learners prefer reading to listening due to its hardness. The final factor comes from the environment where learners change their listening skill. The noise may distract the listeners from what they are hearing. The documents used for training, including radio or tape, lack the body language and facial gesture, which directly contributes to the understandability of the message content. When training listening skill, some learners have to use their low-quality device and get stressed each time they start listening to something. And now, knowing all the common problems when training listening skill. We can offer you some approach to solve this issue. The listeners should practice through many media, especially the visual ones run by the native speakers. It should be hard and frustrating at first, but do not worry. Keep practicing as many times as it takes and you will see the positive result. In addition, the learners ought to train to improve their pronunciation. At the same time, this helps the learners to get familiar to the sounds of words they are going to hear and reduce the number of the words they are going to miss. Each learner can practice the skill in different ways suitable for them. Taking courses, self-studying, others enjoy listening to music and watching TV made by the native Turkish language speakers.
I think that listening English is very difficult.
You see, because our mode of instruction in Pakistan is all English, so we don't have any problem in either reading, writing, listening to English. But any language which is your second tongue, like I was reading French, so comprehending, you will comprehend if you listen to people, like if you listen to the news, especially the news, the radio commentary, because in the television you see the images, so you can make out what is happening. But if you only listen to the radio, what is going on, then you will focus more on the words which they are speaking.
Next, we discuss the reading skill, which is sometimes not as simple as it seems to be. Reading is a complex process in which readers aim to extract the overall information from the text and figure out what is written. This skill requires the learners to master not only the vocabulary but also the grammars, the idioms, slangs, and the specific amount of knowledge about the Turkish language context. In reading skills, it is not the speed but the context comprehension ability that matters. The comprehension reading skills is considered to be one of the most important skills that become the foundation for learners to improve other skills. Below are some difficulties the learners usually encounter when practicing this skill. First, the foreign documents are often long and contain a lot of new terms. Some people say that it is impossible to catch the information of the newspaper, and it has too many new words that will take a whole day to look up on the dictionaries. Even if they spend an entire day of their life figuring out the meaning of the words, it is still uncertain that they fully understand the text, since it depends on many other factors mentioned above. Second, this issue tends to happen to those who lack vocabularies and necessary knowledge. If a learner starts with a document which has too many new words, he will easily get tired and depressed, and he even gives up due to his reduced motivations. Besides, if the context topic of the document is far too difficult for him to understand, he will certainly find no reason to continue reading, and sometimes he may be led to a thought that learning foreign language is something out of his reach. Based on these findings, we can now help you with some tips you can apply and enjoy practicing if you seek for better reading skills. First, you should try to study the topic before reading the text. Recall as much information about the topic you have as possible. Search for information related to the topic from other sources if necessary. You should also check your brain at the door to find out whether it is really needed to read something before you make your decisions. A too hard text can deteriorate your studying momentum. Second, you should prepare yourself the knowledge of the Turkish language, including cultures, economy, society, and more. By doing this, you can understand the general content of the reading text, even if they have many new words. You will be able to guess the meaning of some words, and do not have to depend too much on the dictionaries. Master the basic structures to make the reading task easier. In a text, you should try to see through the links of the paragraph to each other and the connection in meaning sentence in the basis to others. Pay attention to the transition words or signal words, as they help people notice the link of ideas between paragraphs and sentences. For instance, the word however at the beginning of a sentence defines the idea the text is about to indicate is in opposition with the previous idea. The final tip is that you should enrich your vocabularies. Try to promote your new words up to a new level, from knowing to mastering. You can do this by using the words as much as you can in writing and speaking, or else your word will become a part of that language. A group of words you may know the meaning, but never use for specific purposes. You should also set up your goal of how many words you are going to obtain in a certain amount of time. An appropriate and specific goal always puts the learning driving force and helps you achieve remarkable results if you follow through the plan.
New words? New words is like, you see, if you read newspaper daily, so you will find everyday new words. You know, it's a daily process. You should not feel disappointed because learning is a gradual process. Even now, till the time you don't die, it's all learning. Everybody is learning. I am learning. I cannot say my English is perfect and I know everything. Even I can stumble across any new word in English.
So what would you do with an article and a newspaper? How to make new words?
To find new words, read newspapers. English newspapers, but international newspapers. Like International Herald Tribune, read Time magazine, read Newsweek magazine, listen to BBC World broadcast service, the news. These are 3-4 ways in which you can improve your English language speaking skills. And for improving your language skills, you have to listen to the British Broadcasting Corporation, not to the American version, CNN and all that. The correct pronunciation is by the BBC Radio. That is the correct English British pronunciation. So if you want to learn language in the correct way, you have to listen to that. But anyhow, even Voice of America or CNN, if you see it, even then it's very good. You can learn English. You definitely it's not compulsory that you speak English like American or the British. You have to speak it your own way, but at least it should sound good. It should sound good, and the other person should understand what you are saying. That is important. The pronunciation should not be changed. The intonations can get changed, but pronunciation should not be changed.
Hello, I'm Van, reporter from Radio The Voice of Vietnam. We have discussed about the two input skills, listening and reading. Now let's take a look at the two output skills, speaking and writing. Speaking is the first one to be considered. Well, to speak automatically and confidently, the speaker should have a specific amount of vocabulary to express their ideas correctly. The learner now faces a challenge of learning vocabulary that has been indicated in the previous report. And again, learning to speak in a new language has never been an easy task. A good speaker should be able to pronounce well enough. The pronunciation system of every language has its own rules that require careful attention from learners. It can be the stress, the intonation, the tone that distinguishes an effective speaker from others. After mastering this rule, most learners will face a new challenging obstacle, that is, how to correctly simulate the sound of the foreign language words. The task might even become tougher when people learn a new language that contains some syllables they have never seen before. For example, the people in some Asian countries should face much more difficulty on speaking a European language due to the gap in their syllable system. This issue can only be solved by the perseverance and the great efforts of intensive practicing. However, the difficulties of learning speaking skills come mostly from the learners themselves. Many learners are afraid to speak their mind in the target language. They are afraid to make mistakes or they may lose their patience if they see little progress in their skill. To address this problem, the learners should make their internal change at the first place. They should try to use language everywhere, anytime they can in an unhesitant way. They should consider recording their voice in that language, repeating speaking as many times as possible, to catch up with native speakers' speed and accuracy. It might be tough at first, yet eventually, with consistent practicing, the learners would be grateful and surprised with their improvement, and they would eventually deserve to enjoy the fruit of success. And now, let's listen to some people who have shared with us some experiences in practicing speaking skills.
What are the accent, the sound?
So how did you improve your speaking?
To find a lady like you to give me lessons. Thank you. I wish you your best. And I hope you learn foreign language because when you want to go to travel, when you do something to speak foreign language, by all means you have to speak foreign language. It's not enough. You have to know foreign language and also to know something else. Business, pharmacy, medicine, but you know something else. But you need foreign language.
Among four skills, reading, listening, writing, what do you think is the most difficult thing?
Depends, I think. I think the most difficult thing is to speak.
Speak? Or why?
Because you have to practice even more than.
Last but not least, writing appears to be the hardest output skill to master. We will have an overview of the difficulties of the learners have to face when practicing writings. Many research and studies reveal that most people consider writing as the hardest skill to master, and practicing this skill is another time-consuming and challenging obstacle. To write good essays, especially the academic ones, the writer should at first have a considerable basic knowledge of grammar, vocabulary, culture, and societies. Most learners are unconfident about their grammar and vocabulary when practice writings. The lack of vocabulary leads to the repetition of word choice, simple and boring structured sentences, and it is difficult to attract the readers. A short essay with only about 250 to 500 words often takes a huge amount of time from the starters. During a short length of time in a writing test, it is almost impossible for the learners to avoid all the mistakes, since they have to think and write at the same time. A research also points out that an average language learner tends to spend the least of their time on practicing writings when compared with the time they use for other skills. Obviously, without regular practice, writing would always be the biggest barriers for learners on their quest to master a foreign language. In order to be a good writer, learners should always try to improve their knowledge of grammar, vocabulary, and other knowledge involving the culture and societies. Reading newspapers, magazines, and other types of documents is the best way to enlarge your knowledge and prepare for you the required elements to conduct a good essay. Practice makes perfect. Always remember to train your writing skill each day, and maybe one day the article you write will become a masterpiece. After finishing an essay, you should read it carefully again to track the mistakes and correct them. Sometimes, It takes even more than 3 times of repeating reading to fix all the mistakes in your essays.
Writing. Because you have to learn all the grammar. I think that's difficult.
So how do you overcome the difficulty in learning?
Just practicing and learning, memorizing.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I would say right. Yeah.
So how did you do to improve your working?
Well, I went to school. I did, Saturday school. Every practice, yeah. So my parents, I went to Greece, I practiced there as well. Yeah. Just with other people that speak fluently, it helps you.
So you have a native environment, so I think that's difficult.
It's always easy. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hi, welcome back. I strongly believe that our program today has brought you some useful tips for yourself in learning foreign language. In general, no matter how smart we are, and whether we are the native speaker or not, encountering difficulties when learning language is unavoidable. The point is how to solve them. Learning language will become easier if we have an appropriate method, specific plan, and more importantly, a strong determination. A philosopher said, you can never realize the true beauty of a woman until you really fall in love with her. It's also true for acquiring a new language. How can you enjoy learning it if you don't take it as a passion? And when the language becomes your passion, it will be only a matter of time before you really master it. Keep trying hard and intensively training, even though it might seem to be too difficult at first. Every single task due to be difficult before it becomes easy. So be patient, stay hungry, stay polished. A new language mastered will bring much more opportunities you can imagine. You can work, study, and experience a promising future you have always been expecting. Goodbye and see you next Saturday at 9 p.m. on VOV.